Hello guys, we are group 43. Today we are going to give you a lecture on the indoor environmental quality credit 8, which is the quality views. I'm Zihan.
I'm Huawei.
We are lead brothers. Here is the introduction. So let's first come to the intent to give building occupants a connection to the natural outdoor environment by providing quality views. This credit applies to here are the 1 point things: new construction, data centers, cold and shell, warehouse and distribution centers, schools, hospitality, retail, and here are 2 points, which is the health center.
Behind the intent, building occupants who can visually connect with outdoor environments while performing everyday tasks experience greater satisfaction, attentiveness, and productivity. Outside views that incorporate natural elements are more enticing and offer better visual respite. Workers seated at computers who often develop eye strain or dry eyes from looking at their screens for extended periods without a break find relief in attractive distance views. In healthcare facilities, providing patients with views and access to nature can shorten hospital stays and reduce stress, depression, and the use of pain medication. There are many important definitions related to this credit. For example, color rendering index, a measurement from 0 to 100 that indicates how accurately an artificial light source, as compared with an incandescent light, displays hues. The higher the index number, the more accurately the light is rendering colors. Other definitions like inpatient units, movable furniture and partitions, non-inpatient area, permanent interior obstruction, visual glazings. Then I'm going to talk about the requirements for this credit. For new construction, coal and shale, schools, retail, data centers, hospitality, achieve a direct line of sight to the outdoors via vision glazing for 75% of all regularly occupied floor area. View glazing in the contributing area must provide a clear image of the exterior, not obstructed by frieze, fibers, patterned glazing, or added tints that distort color balance. Additionally, 75% of all regularly occupied floor area must have at least two of the following four kinds of views: multiple lines of sight to visual glazing in different directions of at least 90 degrees apart. Views that include at least two of the following: flora, fauna, or sky movement and objects at least 25 feet from the exterior of the glazing. Unobstructed views located within the distance of 3 times the head height of the visual glazing, and views with a view factor of 3 or greater as defined in Windows and Office, a study of office work performance and the indoor environment. Include in the calculation any permanent interior obstructions. Movable furniture and partitions may be excluded. Views into interior area may be used to meet up to 30% of the required area. For warehouse and distribution center, for the office portion of the building meets the requirements above. For the bulk storage, sorting and distribution portion of the building meets the requirements above for 25% of the regularly occupied floor area. For health care, for inpatient units meets the requirements above to get 1 point. For other area, configure the building floor plates such that the floor area within 15 feet of the perimeter exceeded the perimeter area requirements in Table 1 and meets the requirements above for the perimeter area to get 1 point.
Here, let's come to the step-by-step guidance. So first, let's talk about step 1, evaluate project site. During schematic design, review the project surroundings to identify the presence of elements that meet the view quality requirement of the credit, such as park screen roofs and walls, nearby buildings and pedestrians and vehicle movement. Orient the building and locate grading to capitalize on desired views. For massing considerations for health care project and so on, consider the energy and comfort implications of version grading, explore ways to use exterior shading to minimize solar heat gain and get glare while maintaining views. Then let's talk about step 2, design for transparency and quality views. During programming, consider how best to allocate interior space to maximize access to views. During design development, design enclosures and select furniture to minimize visual obstructions to perimeter glazing. Consider using transparent partitions or providing interior glazing at eye level to ensure views for enclosed spaces. In open plan office, select low partitions or incorporate glazed panels to provide views in multiple directions. Pay particular attention to maintaining views for spaces near the core. One successful strategy is to locate open-to-open areas, including classrooms and the perimeter, while placing private offices and unoccupied areas near the core. Consider using glare-controlled devices that preserve the views to exterior. Movable glare control devices do not need to be included in the calculations. Here comes to step 3, identify regularly occupied spaces. Identify all regularly occupied spaces within the project and highlight regularly occupied spaces on the floor plan, on furniture plan, and list all regularly occupied spaces and their respective floor areas. And then for warehouse and distribution centers, identify which regularly occupied spaces are in the office portion of the building and which are in box storage, sorting, and distribution portions of the building. Then let's come to the step 4, identify sidelines to exterior views. On floor plans or furniture plans, identify the locations of perimeter and interior glazing and all permanent interior obstructions. Determine whether the perimeter and interior glazing qualifies as version glazing. Identify permanent interior obstructions. Consider performing an initial rough assessment before performing the detailed assessment of view quality. Determine whether the regularly occupied floor area with proximity to version glazing is at least 75% of the total regularly occupied floor area. And then the next step is step 5, which is assess view quality. Identify which kind of view will be used to demonstrate view quality. For each regularly occupied space or area of the floor plan, select 2 view types and add the selection to the tracking table. Eligible view types are as follows. Type 1. Multiple lines of sight to version glazing in different directions at least 90 degrees apart. Type 2. Views that include at least 2 of the followings. And Type 3. Unobstructed views located within the distance of 3 times the head height of the version glazing. Type 4. Views with a view factor of 3 or greater as defined in Windows and Office. And we will detailedly talk about these 4 aspects in the following slides. First, let's talk about type 1, multiple lines of sight to version glazing in different directions at least 90 degrees apart. On the floor plan or furniture plans, draw 2 lines of sight to the version glazing for each location within the space. The space or location qualifies if the lines of sight are at least 90 degrees apart and if they are not intercepted by any permanent interior obstructions. If necessary, draw sight lines on section or evaluation plans to confirm that permanent interior obstructions do not block the line of sight. It may be easiest to determine the boundary of qualifying areas to non-qualifying areas. Then let's talk about type 2, views that include at least 2 of the following: flora, fauna or sky, movements, and objects at least 25 feet from the exterior of the glazing. In plan, label the qualifying features located at the version glazing. 2 features must be indicated: Movement includes such activities as people walking, cars driving on the street, and boats moving through the water. Movement of plants and trees from wind does not qualify. Account for any changes in exterior views as floor elevation changes. In plan, draw one line of sight or to the version glazing for each location in the space. The space or location qualifies if the line of sight is not intercepted by any permanent interior obstructions. If necessary, draw sightlines on section or elevation plans to confirm permanent interior obstructions do not block the lines of sight. Next, we talk some about type 3. Unobstructed views located within the distance of 3 times the head height of the version glazing. In section, determine the head height of the version glazing for each regularly occupied space. In plan, identify all regularly occupied floor area that is within 3 times the head height of the parameters. The space or location qualifies if there are no permanent interior obstructions present in the area. No permanent interior obstructions are allowed, regardless of their height. Any regularly occupied floor area not in the identified area does not qualify. The last type is type 4, views with a view factor of 3 or greater, as defined in windows or offices, a study of office worker performance and the indoor environment. On the floor plan or furniture plan, identify occupants' typical locations in each regularly occupied space. Indicate whether the location is a primary view location or a break view location. Assess the view factor for each of these locations based on either the primary view or the break view. In section or elevation or through drawings or images, demonstrate how the view factor was determined. Then we come to the last step, conform compliance. Complete the tracking table to confirm that at least 75% of the regularly occupied floor area has two qualifying view types. For warehouses and distribution centers, 75% of the regularly occupied floor area in the office portions of the building and 25% of the regularly occupied floor area in the box storage, sorting, and distribution portions of the building must meet two view types. For healthcare, see further explanation rating system variations.
The required documentation related to this credit is listed in the below picture. That's all. Thank you.